BrokerIPTV.
And welcome to BrokerIPTV. My name is Mark Eibner, and our guest today is Ed Kohler. Ed is the author of Technology Evangelist, and Ed is a web strategist. And Ed, welcome to the show.
Hi Mark, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Super to have you on here. We're going to look forward to these weekly chats with Ed and Ed's unique insight. And I think one of the things we were talking about earlier today is maybe addressing one of those areas you're still not seeing fulfilled by the real estate brokerage community, which is perhaps localism.
Yeah, I think it's an area on the web that still has a lot of opportunity for growth.
And maybe you could define what we think localism is and what type of growth, what do you mean by growth? What can brokers be doing to be more successful in their blogs on the web?
For sure. Well, as I see the real estate discussion as it happens offline, there are a lot of different levels of conversations that happen. But one really important level when people are kind of going through a buying decision is they're trying to figure out which neighborhoods or which developments or which condos they want to consider. And while doing that, they're asking their friends and they're talking about, well, what is it about a certain neighborhood that makes it very livable or an appropriate neighborhood for them to consider buying in? Maybe they're interested in being near trails, or it's a certain commute time, or they need to have a yard that's large enough to have a dog. Whatever it is, a lot of discussions happen around that. But right now online, I haven't seen a really good transfer of that type of knowledge to the web, where real estate agents clearly have this information in their heads, but I don't see it being organized well online yet. So there's an opportunity for for real estate agents or for brokers to provide that type of information in a way that's easy to digest and figure out what would be an appropriate neighborhood to even consider looking for a home.
Right. What about some of the more community or social media based sites like, say, Zillow and Trillia? You got Trillia Voices. I've seen some brokers there interacting with the consumers, stalking consumers, etc.
Yeah. Well, I think those sites are probably doing a better job of it than a lot of brokers are. But I think a broker that can do a job of organizing this type of information, I mean, they are the experts in their local community, and there's no reason you need to rely on a site like Trillia or Zillow to do this. I mean, if you decide you'd rather help them make money, then that's fine. But why not become the source of information in your community? So
you bet. So you're really talking about brokers. Why don't you give a couple examples of localism or things that they could be authoring that are really ultimately long and short tail search words out on the internet?
Yeah, where I think a lot of brokers get hung up is on thinking about the most high level terms that people may search for in their market. So it's a term such as homes for sale in Colorado or real estate in Arizona, things like that. But when people start searching, they may start at that level, but over time their searches start to become more and more precise. And one of those levels is when they start searching for the names of neighborhoods or for small suburb names or the names of specific condos. That particular level is something I don't see a lot yet on a broker's website. Then beyond that, people do go further down to where they start searching on stuff as specific as the address of a property and the MLS number. And a lot of real estate sites, if you get to a site, do a very good job with that. But it's in between there where there's a lot of opportunity of not just showing up, but having some information there that helps explain what people are looking for. If they type in, like I live in a neighborhood called Longfellow in Minneapolis, and if someone searched for Longfellow, hopefully they're going to stumble across a site that helps describe why do people live in this neighborhood? What is it about this neighborhood that makes it livable? So that's where it's information that exists in the minds of brokers and in the minds of their agents, but it hasn't really been organized well to guide consumers to neighborhoods that are good fits for what they're looking for in their lifestyle.
Yeah, so it's maybe somebody out here, take Pearl Street here down in Denver, just something as simple as great sushi restaurant, Pearl Street, Denver, or sushi restaurant 80210, a blog post talking about, including some video, maybe including some photos of just a real brief what you had for lunch literally last week in that specific neighborhood, right?
For sure. And as far as because agents just naturally are out on the road all the time and exploring neighborhoods, it's possible that they may actually have more benefit from, if they're going to jump into a third-party site and contribute information. You could go to Trulia or Zillow, but you could also go to things like Urban Spoon or Yelp and contribute information there with and let people know that you're an agent. Put that in your profile. But if you have knowledge, and like say you're a foodie and you go out and you're trying every new restaurant in town, if you wrote up reviews about that, people could tell like, oh, this person obviously is a person who knows this town very well.
Right.
So yeah, it's indirect sale, but it can be valuable.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things we were talking about. You said a lot of brokers are pretty well versed in posting their listings, but they're not really well versed in being transparent to the consumer to actually prove that they really are an expert in a local area.
Yeah, and it's weird because I think offline, a lot of that neighborhood expertise is still done better than it is online. Because if you go into a community and you look at the yard signs, you can tell who's doing business there. Or if you look at the bus benches or maybe the billboards, things like that, agents will own neighborhoods, but online they're not doing the same thing, which is strange because a lot of agents really do focus on specific areas. So they should try to own areas. I see some where they're starting blogs around areas and they are trying to keep up on the news and aggregates what's going on in their community and report on community meetings or things like that. That kind of stuff could be really cool, as a way to not just say that I am in this neighborhood, but to demonstrate your knowledge of the neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly. In the past, as far as geographic farming, it really came down to how much money for how long you could spend to dominate an area. And now on the, let's just call it the more Web 2.0 transparent community, it's really more the broker spending their time and knowing about short and long tail search words for dominating that same geographic neighborhood online.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. It's just figuring out all the ways that people are going to search for a community. People get very, very, very precise. And if you can have something that shows up on the more specific terms, they also tend to be cheaper, like if you're getting into buying ads on Google AdWords and things like that. So, try to get past the most obvious dozen things that people may search for and, just keep chipping it out over time. Unfortunately, it's kind of like taking your vitamins. Everyone knows you got to do it or you got to exercise if you want to stay in shape. But, to actually get out there and write a blog post on a daily basis or a weekly basis that just provides some information, that stuff just gets archived and it builds and it builds and it builds over time. And you end up with this showcase of information that proves your knowledge.
You bet. I think something as simple, if people, brokers really understood the power of blogging and the fact if you just wrote one small blog post every day, that's 365 posts a year. And they don't have to be long posts. They can be a photo post. They can be a video post. Anything that's got the right title and keyword tags to it eventually is going to start to get compiled by Google and all the other search bots to give precedence to that broker and that neighborhood on those long tail, short tail words.
Oh, exactly. And you can't do this in every community, but in communities where you can post your solds online, I think that's also a good way to demonstrate where you've actually done business. Because you can say that you work in a community, but if you can just show people, no, really, I've done a ton of transactions in this community. So
right.
I think that can help as well.
You bet. Any brokers you're familiar with, Ed, that you know of that have had success or work in this area as far as being good on localism and local data?
I think it varies a bit. I think I see most of it being done today by agents on their own, where they can move a little bit quicker and they're a little more innovative at times, where they're starting to own a community with their blogging. For example, there's a guy in Minneapolis for Coldwell Banker named Jason Sandquist. He's a young guy, he's about 25, and he works with a lot of buyers. And one of the things he's doing is he's driving around developments out in the suburbs like Apple Valley or Mendota Heights and different communities. And he's explaining, he drives around, has his camera on, shows the construction there, goes past the local retail, and people can see what's walkable from the location, describes how far it is from downtown Minneapolis or St. Paul, stuff like that, where, in a couple-minute video, he's really able to show people why people live in that community. And that's something where if anyone's considering living there, they're going to find that very valuable. And he was already there, so it wasn't a huge time commitment for him to do that. He already had his camera with him.
You bet.
Not a big commitment.
Great, Ed. Well, once again, look forward to talking with you next week. And I appreciate your input and information for our brokers.
Thank you, Mark.
And we'll be, once again, if you guys want to find out more information about Ed Kohler, just go to Technology Evangelist. Ed's got a lot of great information up there on things inside and outside of real estate. Like I said, he is the author and founder of Technology Evangelist. Ed also is the founder and owner of the blog Haystack in a Needle. And he's our web strategist, and we look forward to weekly chats on interesting topics and subjects as they relate to our real estate business. We'll look forward to seeing you all next week. Have a great day.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Ed.
Find more real estate videos at BrokerIPTV.com.